Hello, amazing human, and welcome to Neurodivergent Bites, a podcast for neurodivergent entrepreneurs to understand systems, change the narrative about productivity, and embrace yourself for who you really freaking are. If your energy is being sucked, you're struggling to focus, or you know you need systems, but there's a disconnect for whatever reason, join your host, that's me, Carolee Galt, along with fellow amazing humans on how being a neurodivergent entrepreneur has impacted the way they do life and business. If you're looking for bite-sized action steps, you're in the right place. All right. Hello, amazing humans. Welcome back to Neurodivergent Bites. I'm your host, Carolee, and today I get to welcome in our very first guest to this podcast. Her name is Rebecca. I'd love to tell you her last name, but she's going to have to say that because I'd never say it right. So let's welcome Rebecca here to Neurodivergent Bites here. Rebecca, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thanks, Carolee. I did not realize I am the first guest. I feel really privileged for that. Hi, amazing humans, as Carolee would say. I'm Rebecca Paciorek. It's like doing your chores. So it's a lovely Polish name. My grandma still could not say it or spell it to the day she died. God love her. But yeah, so I am the owner of Blue Dot Digital Marketing. And I have been in business since the year 2009. So I've been around for a little while now. Gosh, I don't even want to think about how old, Carolee, you were in 2009.
I was in high school.
See, the crowd can't see the face I just made at you. So 2009 is when I started my business. And I've actually worked from home, though, since the year 2000. So believe it or not, you'll love this, Carolee, if you even know what it is. I had an old time fax machine in my office, like the kind that's attached with a phone cord and like you dialed and everything. I had an old fax machine. That's how long, and I had a dot matrix printer. That's how long I've worked from home. So all these people that during COVID are like, ooh, I'm working from home now. I'm like, old hat, been doing it forever. Yeah, so that's me. But I mostly work with female entrepreneurs, and I work with them to get their digital presence out there. So I do a lot of online business management, and that's, it can encompass anything from blogs to social media to setting up websites, whatever they need.
Or getting on podcasts like this, right?
Absolutely. I actually do a lot of podcast setups for people to schedule them as guests.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So if you need more guests, I can help you out.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. I see that. Good job. Or you also work with authors specifically too, right?
Correct. I have an umbrella branch of Blue Dot. It's called Authors Allies by Blue Dot. I've been a reader since I was like 4 or 5 years old, and reading is my jam. I don't do TV hardly ever. I mostly read. And so I work with authors and have some really cool packages. In the last month, I have gotten one of my authors to #1 on Amazon in the thriller and suspense categories, which are huge because those are the biggest categories on Amazon. I've gotten several authors to #1 now, actually, and #2 with some of the email promotions and Facebook ads that I set up. Typically getting pretty good return on investment on Facebook ads for my authors. I help them set up tours, all sorts of fun stuff that, let's face it, they don't want to do. They want to write. You know what I mean? Like they want to just write. They want to create. They want to be. They don't have the time, the desire, or the knowledge most of the time to set up this other stuff. So I help them with all of that.
Well, that sounds like fun. I've wanted to write a book, so I know who to contact when I want to write a book, or I should say when the book is written, because you do all the stuff after that, right? Yes.
Yes. We do all the stuff after that, and we can help you with the launch, like, the marketing and stuff, the prep up to then, but we don't typically do, like, we're not a publisher. So we don't really do the setup of your book and all of that. I can point you in the direction of some people that can, but we don't do that. We do, however, do some editing. I was a magazine editor for over 20 years, so I can do editing. But most people that come to us already have their book basically ready to go. And then we do all the marketing stuff for it.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of fun. Although writing a book, that sounds very big to me. So we'll talk about that on another time, but
you can totally do it. I've started to write a book. I don't know how many times. I probably have like 6 books in those starting stages.
I'll leave the writing to my husband for the most part. He's writing a fiction fantasy novel, so we'll leave that to him. That'll be fun.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
All right, so I have another question for you.
Uh-oh.
How has being a neurodivergent entrepreneur affected your approach to productivity and time management? And I know that you haven't like officially had like any diagnosis or anything like that. You're just like, I feel very not normal. I'm in air quotes here, you guys. So how has that kind of affected life, productivity, time management, things like that?
Well, it's interesting. Actually, you and Shay were the first people to point out to me that maybe I have ADHD. I had COVID back in December, and prior to that, I was having a lot of metabolic, which I still have a lot of metabolic issues, and some brain fog. And I'm like, gosh, it just seems worse, right? So as you get older, and then if you have, I'm approaching those menopausal years, fun times, you mix that with brain fog of COVID. And then I've always known that my brain works faster than the average bear, meaning like constantly. My brain doesn't take a break. Okay. So it's always spinning with ideas. It is frustrating at some times, but it's also great at other times. And so, it's affected my approach to productivity and time management in a lot of ways. But the main thing that I've learned to do to sort of slow my brain down is to do a lot of brain dumps. I have notebook after notebook. Getting it all out helps calm, right? And then I also set up a lot of systems in my business. And I know you're really big on systems too. And that I think is the only way for people like us who have all those spinning thoughts, right, to get them under control. You know what I mean? And that's half of the battle. And I'm sure you can already tell I speak very fast. That was one of the first things that you guys brought to my attention as a potential symptom, right? That I talk fast, I think fast. The brain spinning thing, I drive my husband crazy with that sometimes. But so I think the systems and the brain dumps really important to helping slow all of that down and to be able to work effectively.
Strategies or systems have you implemented to help you stay focused and manage your energy effectively, like things like that? So what are the actual like software tools, resources that you've used?
Okay, so a couple of things that I do. I learned that because I am so speedy, right? And like fast, like moving, always moving, that I burn out quickly. So I basically only have, I've set up my schedule to accommodate my brain, really. I only allow one set appointment a day with a client so that I don't, just burn out my brain. I have my calendar. I use Google Calendar right now. I switched to that because it was free instead of Calendar and Calendly. That is set up where I can only have one appointment a day. My appointment calendar is open Tuesday through Thursday between 10 and noon. After lunch, my brain just doesn't work as well. So I pretty much only work until around 3:30. And then to separate between business and home, I usually meditate around 3:30 or 4. And I would say half of the time that turns into a nap.
Naps are great.
When your brain works that fast, it needs to shut down sometimes, right? And then I use ClickUp, which I know you and I kind of jumped into ClickUp together. Love my ClickUp. Also use a written planner. And then the other thing is coaching and accountability. When your brain works so fast and you have so many things, it's really hard to prioritize and keep it all straight. And so I have a business coach, and then I have you in the treehouse help me with accountability. And so like the business coach helps me get all the ideas, like I get them all spinning. And then, in the treehouse, I kind of cut those down and organize and prioritize, if that makes sense. So then I figure out, okay, well, I have all these ideas. What are we going to do with them? And so I don't think I could do it without the help of a community.
Yeah, the community is a huge plus, no matter what you're paying for the community, as long as they're interactive.
Yes.
And I actually, I'm going to throw this in here. When I'm paying for a community personally, I use it I'm more intentional with the community. Do you
Yes.
find that you do that too when you invest in it?
Absolutely. I had told my husband, he's kind of my silent business partner, that, I was going to do these two things. And, coaching isn't necessarily cheap. And he's like, well, are you going to get your return on investment? And so what I specifically do is with the treehouse, I set up the accountability forms so that you can help me, especially with the sales power hours, right? So like you kind of remind me of those from time to time to make sure I'm doing that. And then I also told him that I would not keep paying for it for things like that, unless I could be sure I was taking advantage of at least one thing a week. So I actually put in my calendar the things that I'm going to do with the specific coaching and the accountability, which I consider you my accountability group, the treehouse. So I'm like, I write in my calendar, planning event, BFF hours, so that I am sure to do those things. And that's what makes it worth it. I mean, to me, there's no point in joining any kind of group and then just doing nothing with it. Like, you're never going to stay in it if you do that, and you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you found the treehouse very, very good for you. We could talk about how in the beginning you were like, I don't know really if this is going to work for me, and then by month 3 you're like, this is a priority expense in my
Yeah.
in my finances, right? Which is awesome. Have you ever felt pressure to conform to societal norms of productivity? All right. And then how have you actually navigated that?
It's kind of interesting because my husband and I both lost our jobs within 2 weeks of each other in the real estate crash recession in 2010. And I was looking for jobs, and I just kept, I was in sales at the time, advertising sales, and I couldn't do that again. I knew I couldn't do that again. And everyone thought I should get a real job, right? They were like, well, get a real job. Well, I'm a stubborn Aries, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do, not what everyone else wanted me to do, right? And so people were like, well, you should get a real job. And so I said, you know what? I'm creating my own damn job, because there were no jobs out there that I wanted. And so I sat down, and I had all these realtors kept coming to me and going, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Because I actually had my real estate license at the time. So I was doing flyers and social media and stuff for other realtors. And I actually hated selling real estate. Like, oh my gosh, it was so not me, right? The behind the scenes, that's me. So I came up with this plan, and I told my husband, I said, look, here's what we need. I said, we need, if I can get, this was in like April, I think, of around 2000, it was a 2009, it was around April. And I said, look, if I can, by the end of the summer, be having enough income that's $2,500 a month. That was like the minimum I needed to make for our family to live, right? I said, if I can have $2,500 a month in business by September 1st, are you cool with me just doing that, starting my own business and not getting a real job, in air quotes, right? And he's like, yeah, okay. Like he didn't think it would happen. So on August 31st, I had a little over $2,000 a month in income. I wasn't at 2,500. I was just slightly over 2,000, right? It was like 23, something ridiculously close. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. Let's see what you can do with the rest of this month. And it just rolled from there. I mean, that was my incentive. I'm like, when people tell me I can't do something, I'm like, oh no, we are doing it my way. And so we did. And it's just grown from there. And now I have a team of like 7 people that work with me. And yeah, I mean, there were years I've made more than my husband. So, I've done pretty well, I think, for owning my own business, because, most businesses, they don't survive that long. And I've officially been an LLC since 2009. So,
Wow.
yeah.
As we've been talking, you've been sharing how actually multi-passionate you are. And I bet you a lot of our listeners are like that too. So how did you decide to narrow in on what you're doing now instead of, because you've said you've already done so many different things. How did you get to right now with what you're helping your clients with?
Yeah, it's interesting because I started out with the real estate, and I just happened to be in a Facebook group one day because, I'm one of the first people on Facebook, obviously, because I'm old. And
You are not old.
oh, I love you. I was in a Facebook group one day, and a lady was saying she needed help with social media for dentists. And I'd been doing all this stuff for realtors, right? So I would say up until 2020 almost, I specifically concentrated on real estate and dentists just because it came to me, right? So the group that was looking for dental help, they were starting a digital marketing agency. And I started with 2 clients for them, and we got up to like 6 clients. And then they needed an in-house person, and they were in Florida and I'm in Ohio. And I couldn't just up and move to Florida, as much as most people would love that idea. So I said, okay, well, I kind of broke from them. And then I just kind of floated around a little bit, mostly still did work with dental, within the dental industry and the real estate. And, I was building other people's businesses. I worked with a dental magazine that was wonderful, and I met so many amazing women, but I was building her business, not mine. And people were contacting me at all hours of the night and all of this stuff. And I wasn't nearly making the money I should be making. And so finally I broke from that. And I knew I wanted to work with authors. I've been working with one of my authors since 2015. And that was what I enjoyed the most. So during COVID, and at the end of that, I started doing some things with Nellie, and then with you, and just, kind of decided at the end of last year to really start concentrating on the author end of things, because I had one of my realtors retired. Another realtor was taken over by a corporate. Corporate said they would do all their stuff for them. So of course he didn't need me if he was getting it for free. This was my opportunity, right? I was down to 1 realtor after having 5. And so we kind of flipped the narrative, right? Between working with you and working with Nellie and doing the things. We went after the authors more. And so now I'm at, I have 5 authors, and I just dismissed my last realtor for this month. And so now I have mostly authors. And then I do have a couple of other things too. I definitely will do other stuff because I like doing all of it, right? I like doing all of the things. So I'm willing to work with, people that need me, right? If you need me and you have the money to pay, I'm happy to talk to you. But the author stuff is the most fun. So it was kind of gradual, but you're always pivoting, right? I mean, that as a business owner, you always have to change what you're doing to match the market, to match what you want to do. And so it just made sense to me to start going after the authors more, learning more about the publishing industry and how I can help these authors to do what they want to do. It's just been so much fun.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a lot. I know.
No,
Sorry you asked.
No, that's sorry I asked. I'm glad I asked, because I mean, I'm not going to share my story. I'll share it on another episode, but my story was something similar to that. You started out with one because the opportunity was presented to you, but you didn't feel like it fit, but you could do it. And then as you kept doing it until you really fell into what you really wanted to do. And then when that opportunity basically landed in your lap again, but it felt very in alignment, that's when you were like, I'm going all in. And that's really powerful. I have a similar story.
Yeah, I know. You and I have a lot of similarities there. That's why I get to be your adopted business mom, right? But yeah, it's, in business, don't you think that's kind of the way that it just rolls for most of us though, Carolee? As entrepreneurs, one thing might fall into your lap and then it leads to another thing and another, one thing just leads to another. That's kind of how my whole business journey, I feel like, has been.
Yeah. And shifting is not necessarily a bad thing as long as it feels in alignment with you. And that's what's really important. Not necessarily the clients will come, the customers will come, as long as putting you first in this scenario, making sure it's in alignment for yourself, I feel like is really, really important.
And it's so hard. I mean, when I let this realtor go for this month, she's been with me since 2017. And, let's be honest, as entrepreneurs, we need the money. And so when you are saying goodbye to money that is easy money, it was easy money for me because I know the industry so well, but it just didn't feel right anymore. It wasn't right. It just wasn't right. And it's hard. It's so hard. So many entrepreneurs, and I did this when you first get started, you take anyone who will give you money, right? I'll give you money. Oh, I'll take you. I don't care what you're doing. I'll take you. I'll take you. I'll take you. It takes a while, I think, to realize that you can't do that. You just can't. It's not good for you. And it's not good for them ultimately, because you're not in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's a disservice to your client, really.
Yeah.
And you don't see that until later, usually. I know I didn't.
Right. And, It's hard. That's a hard lesson to learn. I think that's one of the hardest things I learned as an entrepreneur, really, is when to let someone go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's deep. So if you ever have questions, man, you need to reach out to other entrepreneurs because I'm sure that they can share a story or they can, kind of walk you through like, would it be best for you, whether that's your mental health or whatever, to let that client go? And then how can we actually replace that income? Like, those
That's
are
the
big
hard part.
questions.
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Well, maybe that'll be for your second podcast guest interview. You'll be on the other side and you'll be able to share on that. We'll talk
That's
about
right.
that later, right?
That's right.
All right. Can you share with us any tips or insights on how you've embraced or leveraged some of these neurodivergent traits that you've now seen as neurodivergent traits that have actually helped you in your business?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I think my best advice on that is to not dampen your creativity, because those of us that are neurospicy, people try to dampen us, right? Because we're too much a lot. We talk too much, we think too much, we throw out ideas too much. And so what I do, because this is how I leverage that, I always have a notebook handy. Like I have so many notebooks, and then I always have my notebook or a phone. Like I keep a notebook next to my bed and my phone next to my bed. If it's 3 a.m. and I have an idea, I put it in there, right? So basically I have a parking lot for all these ideas, right? And just because we dream big, that doesn't mean that we can't make some of those dreams come true. Like we may have a big dream and may have lots of dreams, but if you keep track of them, you can do it. So, don't ever tell yourself to stop. Like if I'm too much for you, too bad, so sad. Like keep writing all your dreams down, keep writing all your ideas down, and then pick the ones that work and work when you're good. People think, oh, well, you only have appointments Tuesday through Thursday between 10 and noon. Well, yeah, because if I meet you outside that time, you're not getting your money's worth from me. And
that's deep. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to meet with me, don't you want to meet with me when I'm at my best, when I'm going to give you what you really need? If you try to meet with me at 3 p.m, I'm going to be practically brain dead. So I think if you work with what you've got when it comes to those neurodivergent traits, mine is the creativity of the brain, fast. I mean, you and I have done brainstorming. I'm fast. I just keep coming up with these ideas and I just write them all down because you don't know what's going to come out of it. And then again, work when you're good, work with your energy, not against it.
So to sum that up, I think what you're saying is that we need to set up our business where it works for us and then implement boundaries even when we get pushback.
100%. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people don't like what you're doing. If what you're doing works best for you and for them, then you keep doing it.
Otherwise, they're probably not a good fit for your business, right? Because we don't want to add extra stress, right? Because that's what we do. We tend to add extra stress onto our plate just because, we're not really working with ourselves, right? Working with our brain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're people pleasers. I mean, so many of us with ADD are people pleasers. And if someone says, oh, well, I can't meet with you at that time. I just told a client this morning, you know what? If you can't meet with me at those times, the only other time I can offer you is a Saturday morning. I'm willing to talk to you on a Saturday morning because that's what's best for them, is to get my full brain. So.
Ooh, that's powerful. Super powerful.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm biased.
No, but for real, like I could, meet at someone at 9 p.m. and your brain be completely dead, or you could meet at someone at 10 and it'd be good. It just depends on when you feel most alive, really.
Absolutely. And if that's 10 p.m. and someone wants to meet with you, they will. You know what I mean? Like and I've told them that. I'm like, look, I'll meet you whenever you want, but if you want to get my best brain power, it's going to be in the morning.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kind of said you had a little bit of pushback with that, but has that been a hard boundary to implement for you?
It was hard at first, especially with my current clients. So I'm definitely, a little more flexible when it comes to them, especially if it's a client I really love, of course. If they're trying to be a pain, I'm like, no. But if it's someone I'm working with and they've always respected my boundaries, if we have good communication and, they're like, look, I really can't meet at this time. As long as they understand that, I may not be at my best, I will meet them when they need to meet. But have I maybe lost clients because of it? Possibly, because if people go to my calendar to set up an appointment and they have a 9 to 5 and they don't like those times, then that may not be great. There was a guy that I was working with last year, and he worked with an editor that had another job, and she kept wanting to meet at 7 o'clock at night. And I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. And that's not my problem. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my problem that she has another job. This is my job. This is my full-time job. So my full-time job is during my time. And why should I accommodate her full-time job? No. I mean, doctors don't just meet whenever you feel like meeting with them. The plumber doesn't come whenever you feel like meeting with them. And the cable people always tell you, I'll be there between 10 and 12, and they don't give you anything. So if someone wants to work with me and they want the best of me, if they want to work with you at your best, they will. But yeah, it was hard. It was kind of hard at first, but it just takes educating your clients and everyone else that wants to work with you. So, I mean, like, I know you don't like to get up before 10 o'clock in the morning. I would never ask you to meet me at 7:30 in the morning, because I wouldn't get any help from you at 7:30. I mean, I would, you'd do your best, I know. But if I had to meet you at 7:30 in the morning, it would be really hard for you.
This is so true. And so, yeah, I've been able to implement those boundaries as well. And implementing those boundaries has literally saved me so much stress and my sanity. And then my clients do tell me, they're like, I love talking with you. And it's because I'm at my best, is right. So that's huge for anyone that does any sort of, anything, any type of business, really. They always want you at your best. What challenges have you encountered as a neurodivergent entrepreneur, and how have you overcome them?
The main thing I can think of, and I think we did touch on this a little bit, is because my brain works so fast. A couple of times this year, I was told that my enthusiasm was appreciated, but that I was exploding their brain. Like, two people told me that in the last 6 months. And so what we decided was, because I worked through with one of my clients a couple of days ago, I had a meeting and I said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I started a parking lot for them, so that when I have all these ideas, I started a Google sheet. Okay. And it has a parking lot list. And I said, I'll just put my ideas in there. And then when you need more ideas, you can either look there and ask me about it, so that I'm not exploding their brain, but they're still getting the ideas, you know what I mean, that I have in mind. And then two, the other thing is that I've learned to create an agenda for my meetings and basically try to stick to it. It's like when you're in court and they say, only answer the question, do not give extra detail, which is hard for me because I'm a talker and a thinker. So that has really helped. So, parking lot for your clients as well as yourself. And then, like I said, trying to stick to the agenda has been big for me.
I love all of those things, but I have never thought of a parking lot for your clients. That's huge. That was my mind blown for today. Thank you for teaching me that today.
You're welcome.
I'm going to totally start that now, because that's genius. I don't know why I haven't. So
It
this
helps
is what
a lot.
happens when you collaborate with people, right? You get great new fresh ideas or a different outlook perspective. That's huge.
Yeah, and that's a recent idea I had, and I just started doing that a couple months ago. And so when I spoke with one of my authors the other day, she's like, there's so much. And she kind of did it like that. People can't see me, but I'm like, freaking out. I'm like, okay, chill. I got this. This is what, and she loved that idea. She loved it. So she can just go look anytime she feels like it.
Have you found any other specific tools, apps, or resources that have been particularly helpful in optimizing your workflow and productivity? Like your top 2 that you couldn't live without. What are those things?
ClickUp and Google, probably, because Google, I have some cool things in Gmail that I really do, between the labels, and then I also use the tasks in there. And so keeping that organized, and then the ClickUp. And I don't know if you know this yet from ClickUp, but you can send an email directly from your Gmail to your ClickUp. So if I have something from a client, I can attach it from Gmail directly to their ClickUp file.
I did know that. And isn't it awesome?
Yes, it is like a game changer to keep those things together. So I think those are the 2 tools. And then as far as the resources, again, back to the coaching and the accountability, community, I just don't think that an entrepreneur we all think we own our own business, but I don't think we can do it alone.
Yes. I tried to do it alone for a while, but my brain is like, you go even more out all over the place. I feel like we need someone to
Yes.
like continuously checking in and reining you in a little bit, or telling you to put it all in your parking lot, right?
Right. And no one else gets it. I mean, I have a group of 7 besties and I love them to death, but they don't get my life. You know what I mean? My husband doesn't really get it. Like people that don't own their own business, they don't understand how hard it is.
Yes, that's huge insight. Definitely, it's for more specific, a community of entrepreneurs that are
Yes.
doing things that are at least similar to what you are, so they understand. And they probably have the same struggles, so you can help each other.
Right.
Is there any other specific success stories or achievements you want to highlight that you can attribute to embracing and working with your neurodivergent strengths as an entrepreneur?
I actually think a lot of people think that it would be hard to have any sort of neurodivergent tendencies and own a business. I actually think that's what created my business. Being able to be a fast thinker and an idea person, I don't think I could do that and be an entrepreneur if I didn't have that ability. I mean, I think I think I own a business because of that, not in spite of
Yes,
it.
I agree with that. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are neurodivergent, which is something I ended up learning later on. But I think it's because we're fast thinkers and we can change our ideas. We can keep things exciting and with lots of energy, and our creativity never ends. It's actually the part that a lot of us struggle with is actually taking all of that I just said and actually implementing it so that people can actually see it.
I think the biggest thing too to that, besides, giving ourselves grace, seeking that helpful community,
Mhm.
to do that is really setting those boundaries, right? Because our
Yeah.
brains burn out so fast. I don't think many of us can do a 40-hour week because we put so much into those first 20 hours of the week that, oh my gosh, right? Like I think being able to create our own schedules and all of that, you know, that's the key for us.
I couldn't agree more. Like if I didn't be able to have a flexible schedule, like my life would look very different. Even
Mhm.
though I do work lots of hours in my
Right.
business and things like that, but like the flexibility and just like the freedom of that flexibility is huge for
Yeah,
sure.
it's huge. It's the best thing, I think. Best of all worlds.
What advice do you have for an aspiring neurodivergent entrepreneur? So someone that hasn't even started their business yet, they may be struggling or they know they want to do this. What would be your piece of advice for them to find their way or navigate the business world in a way that feels authentic to them?
I would say find the community first
Oh, that's good.
because I mean, can you imagine how many less mistakes you would have made had you had people to bounce those ideas off of from the beginning?
Or like, see if people want it before you create it all and then you get really sad inside when no one
Yeah.
wanted it.
Yeah. I mean, finding that community before you start doing it all, like, oh my gosh, it's amazing to me. That would be amazing. That would be my biggest thing, would be find your community. Find your tribe, as they say.
Yes. I honestly didn't even think of it that way, but that's a great piece of advice. Because a lot of people even struggle with finding that community because they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
But
That's
there's a
true.
lot out there.
Yeah, but I think if you join like some general like if you're a female, then join a female entrepreneurial group because you're going to have specific issues that men aren't going to have. I mean, even women and men produce, symptoms differently when it comes to ADD. So you can at least niche it down that one itty bitty piece to start with. And if you want to have an online business, that's another step. So I think someone's going to know, sort of. I mean, you either know you want to open up a shop and sell cookies, or you want to do something online. You know what I mean? Retail versus an online business is very different. So anything they can do to niche down. So do your search for female entrepreneurs online. Boom, there you go. That's going to get you partially where you want to go, and then from there start asking questions and read what people say.
I love how you broke that down. My soul is just very fueled right now. You're like, we're going to break it down into steps for you guys. I'm super
Yeah.
excited about that.
Right. Now, if I could have told myself that in 2009, I would have made my life a lot easier. But, you know, Facebook didn't even have groups back then. So I don't know how I would have found those people.
That's
My
great.
gosh, I'd have had to go out in person.
Oh no.
Nick, crazy.
So this little birdie told me, I'm kind of getting a hint of this thing. I think you have a free challenge coming up maybe this month. Do you want to, do you think our listeners would find something beneficial from that challenge?
Sure, I'd love to have them. On August 21st, I'm going to do a creator week, because I think you told me challenge isn't a great word to use, but it says challenge on all my stuff. However you want to look at it, challenge, creator week, we're going to put together a one-sheet bio. So that's something that you need, whether you are an author, a speaker, or if you want to be a podcast guest. This is what the organizers want to see. They don't want a big long email. They don't want this stuff. And they've told me this, like people that I've worked with, to set stuff up. So we're going to work together over the week to create a one-sheet bio. And it's going to be August 21st. And it's totally free. It's going to be through my Facebook page, Authors Allies. And you can sign up there. And then it'll be through the group, a private group set up through that. And there will be replays. So if you don't do Facebook, it's fine. You'll still be able to get the replays on email. And by the end of the week, you're going to have your bio one sheet ready to go. So you can start sending it out and get those podcast guestings, get those events, get those speaking events, get the book signing gigs, whatever you need. So you will have that sheet done. So it's a huge win for the week. It's free.
Oh yeah. I signed up already. When I got that, that little birdie told me, meaning I saw it hidden somewhere. I was like, ooh, this sounds cool. So essentially what this does is it's going to save you time, because you already have everything compiled. So when they ask for something, you can just easily send it to them. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so pretty much, if you want to be a guest on anything, this would be, you want this one sheet.
Yes, this is what the organizers want, because when I first started trying to get people set up as guests, speakers, doing book signing events, I was trying to send all this information, right? And they're like, no, all we need is a one sheet. It took me a little time to figure out what the heck that was, because I'm like, what's a one sheet? I mean, it's basically what it is, but I don't know why they don't just say biography. But in the author world, it's called a one sheet, and the speaker world, same kind of a thing. So, but they've told me that's what we want. We don't want all this big long stuff. Just send us your one sheet. And then if we want you, then we will get more, then you get more information for them. But this is the start. The one sheet is the start of your media kit. So
this just popped into my brain, is that even if someone was kind of all over the place, do you like on what they wanted to do for business, do you feel like this training would help them be able to narrow that down?
I do, because part of the one sheet is that you're going to provide topics that you can speak on, right? And potential questions that they can ask you. So through this process, you're going to do a little brainstorming on, what you can talk about. And that might help you decide which direction you want to go. I know it helped me quite a bit when I was trying to figure these things out. And so, yeah, I mean, anyone really could use one. With all the podcasts that are out there now, no matter what your business is, there's a podcast that could use you as their person, as their source of some information. So, we all have experiences. Even if you've never worked online, you've done something that could contribute to someone's business. So it's helpful for anyone, really, not just authors and speakers. Any business person can benefit from having their one sheet.
Oh, I love that.
It's your resume, but a little different.
Okay, that's a great comparison here. It's like a resume, but for business owners when they want to be guests and things like that. Oh, I love
It's
that.
kind of a combination of a resume media kit, but all in one sheet.
I did like receiving your one sheet. I did like that. I was like, ooh, this is pretty. It's simple. It has everything I need on it. And if I need more, of course, I can ask questions. But it was really, really good to receive that. So if you want to sign up for her free challenge, you can go ahead and head to the show notes. I will have the link down there, along with any of her socials. So you can go ahead and follow Rebecca, follow her journey along with Authors Allies, as she is starting to really just dig into authors. And so if you have any questions for her, go ahead and follow her, right? Ask her some questions. She is the most kind woman I've ever met, right? She really is. You can't see her, but she's giving me this cute little smile.
You're so sweet.
Before I wrap up today's episode, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey to empower neurodivergent entrepreneurs. I hope that you've gained valuable insights and a fresh perspective on productivity and self-acceptance. No matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, I'm here to support you. These transformative conversations will equip you with bite-sized action steps that you can apply immediately. Let's redefine productivity on our own terms and create a business that aligns with who we truly are. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast to receive the latest episodes and join our amazing community of neurodivergent humans. Remember, being unique is our superpower, and together we can rewrite the rules of success.